In a quiet little cottage, a magical story was about to begin. The air shimmered softly as if the world was holding a secret. Petals seemed to glow in the golden morning light. And this is the story of a tiny girl named Thumbelina. There once lived a kind woman who wished deeply for a child. Every night, she looked at the stars with hope in her heart. Her small cottage felt lonely and silent, but her wish was stronger than the quiet around her. One evening, an old wise woman came to her door. She placed a tiny magical seed in her hand. "Plant this with love," she gently said. And then she disappeared into the fading sunset. The woman carefully planted the seed in a flower pot. She watered it daily and spoke to it kindly. Sunlight touched the soil each morning, and something wonderful began to grow. Soon, a beautiful pink flower bloomed in the pot. Its petals shimmered softly in the sunlight. It was unlike any flower she had ever seen. It glowed as if it carried magic inside. One morning, the flower slowly opened. Inside sat a tiny girl no bigger than a thumb. Her golden hair shone like sunlight, and the woman named her Thumbelina. Thumbelina slept in a walnut shell bed. Rose petals kept her warm at night. The moonlight gently touched her tiny face. She looked peaceful and safe. During the day, she played near the pond. She danced lightly on floating lily pads. The water sparkled under the bright sky, and her laughter filled the meadow. But one night, danger crept in quietly. An old toad saw Thumbelina sleeping. The toad had a selfish plan in mind, and she carried the tiny girl away. Thumbelina was taken to a wide, dark river. She was placed on a floating lily pad. The water moved slowly beneath her, and she felt small and afraid. The toad's son stared silently at her. He expected her to stay forever. But Thumbelina did not want this life. She longed to return home. Beneath the water, small fish heard her sadness. They gently nibbled the lily pad stem. Soon, the pad drifted away from the shore, and Thumbelina began to float free. The river carried her far from danger. The breeze felt cool and fresh. She watched the green banks pass by, and hope slowly returned to her heart. Bright butterflies fluttered beside her. They guided her gently down the stream. The sunlight danced on the water, and she no longer felt alone. At last, she reached the grassy shore. She stepped carefully onto dry land. Tall flowers surrounded her everywhere, and she was safe once again. Thumbelina spent the summer in a bright meadow. She rested inside soft blooming flowers. The days were warm and peaceful. Life felt simple and happy. She often sang gentle songs to the sky. Birds listened from nearby branches. The meadow felt alive with color, and her voice carried sweetly in the air. But seasons slowly began to change. Leaves turned orange and fell softly. The air grew colder each day, and flowers began to fade. Soon the meadow became empty and quiet. Thumbelina walked through a wide, dry field. The wind moved across the golden ground. She searched for warmth and shelter. At last, she found a small underground home. A kind field mouse opened the door. The mouse offered her a warm place inside, and Thumbelina felt grateful. The underground house was cozy and safe. Lantern light filled the tiny rooms. Grains were stored neatly in corners. Winter would be warmer now. One day, a wealthy mole came to visit. He wore a dark coat and spoke proudly. He disliked sunlight and flowers, but he seemed interested in Thumbelina. The mole showed her his underground tunnels. They were long and dimly lit. The air felt heavy and still. Thumbelina missed the open sky. Deep inside a tunnel, she found a swallow. The bird lay weak and still. The mole did not care about it, but Thumbelina felt kindness in her heart. She secretly cared for the swallow. She brought it food and warmth. Days passed quietly underground, and the bird slowly grew stronger. Snow covered the world above, Inside, lanterns glowed softly. Thumbelina waited patiently. Spring felt very far away. The mole proudly showed his stored treasures. He spoke of a comfortable future underground. The field mouse seemed pleased, but Thumbelina felt uncertain. At last, spring's sunlight reached the tunnel. The swallow spread its wings again. Fresh air filled the entrance, and hope returned once more. The field mouse shared important news. The mole wished to marry Thumbelina. Life underground would last forever, but her heart felt heavy. Thumbelina stood near the tunnel opening. The swallow waited outside in sunlight. She made a brave decision and chose freedom over fear. She climbed onto the swallow's back. They soared high above forests and rivers. The sky felt endless and bright, and she felt truly free. They flew over tall, snowy mountains. Lakes sparkled far below them. The sunset painted the clouds gold. The journey felt magical and new. Arrival in warm land. They arrived in a warm, colorful land. Flowers bloomed everywhere around her. Butterflies filled the air. And spring never seemed to end. In the center stood a grand flower palace. Petals formed shining towers. Tiny pathways glowed in sunlight. It felt like a hidden kingdom. From a bright blossom stepped a tiny prince. He had wings like clear glass. He welcomed Thumbelina kindly, and she felt she belonged. The prince offered her his hand. He invited her to stay in the kingdom. Flower people gathered around them. The air felt warm and joyful. Soon, a grand celebration filled the meadow. Petals floated gently through the air. The swallow circled above happily. Thumbelina had found her home. She was given delicate shining wings. They sparkled softly in sunlight. She could now fly beside the prince. Her new life had begun. Far away, the toad watched from the river reeds. But the tiny girl was out of reach. The river flowed quietly once more, and the past drifted away. The swallow thanked her with gentle loyalty. It remembered her kindness always. Their friendship remained strong. Across every season and sky, the flower kingdom bloomed brightly each day. Winged people flew among blossoms. Streams sparkled beneath giant petals. It was a world full of light. Thumbelina and the prince flew together. The sunset glowed over their kingdom. Her journey from fear to courage was complete, and she lived happily ever after.